So as I was saying, in the UK, illegal migrants who cross the channel are being put up in hotels with four-poster beds, buffets for breakfast, and your choice of sporting entertainment. These hotels are usually heavily guarded, so no one really knows what goes on inside, but one man has managed to go undercover and get inside and expose what's really happening.
When I thought of the term illegal migrant hotel, I definitely had a far less luxurious accommodation in my mental image. So aside from music for entertainment, there is other provisions as well, like access to multiple different types of sports equipment, including cricket. If you fancy having 10 eggs for your breakfast, take 10 eggs.
What's on the menu? Hash browns, beans, hash browns, salad, eggs, tomatoes.
They are taking the British taxpayer for a ride. There are 32,000 asylum seekers in the UK being put up in 210 hotels, all on the dollar of the British taxpayer, while British families are struggling with a cost of living crisis, struggling with surging energy prices, struggling to keep a roof over their heads. You have 36,000 illegal migrants being put up in hotels across the country. We've seen protests in the UK erupt around a lot of these hotels, and while there are some unsavoury characters that have tried now to hijack this issue and just cause chaos and protests, I understand the incredible frustration and resentment these people must feel towards not necessarily the migrants personally, but certainly the government who has allowed this situation where you have millions and millions of pounds being spent housing illegal migrants.
And it should be clear, this was going on under the Tories as well, but it has become much worse under the Labor government. I mean, it's almost as though Sir Keir, took a look at what was going on in New York and other places in the United States where they were putting illegal migrants up in hotels and said, yes, that's the blueprint. That's what we need to do over here, because it worked so well in the United States. I mean, the US had exactly the same thing in terms of these demonstrations, and you saw how people voted at the presidential election in November last year. The number 2 issue behind cost of living in every poll was illegal migration. It is a massive issue, and it's turning into a massive issue in the UK as well. And it's bloody expensive too. The last financial year, 2024-25, they were spending £108 million a month putting these people up in hotels. That's what is it? I did the conversion earlier. 222.25 million Australian dollars, which over the course of the financial year was 2.67 billion Australian dollars that they spent in the UK putting up illegal migrants in hotels, who clearly, by the looks of it, have a far better lifestyle than many people across the UK, many people across Australia who are struggling, who'd love nothing more than to be put up with free brekkie and a nice hotel room and the tennis courts and a cricket pitch to play on every single day. But if you get a boat across the channel, yippee, here you go.
Yeah, look, I don't necessarily. I think nations have to control their borders, and that's the most important thing. So the question, I think, is whether or not, and because that does really affect how poor people live, because it undercuts their wages, it takes jobs that they would otherwise get, and of course puts all sorts of cost of living pressures on the economy. So that is the first thing. I hate the scenes of people rioting outside and throwing things at police and setting fire to things and acting horrendously violently or aggressively or threateningly towards these people, and I don't think they'd see the distinction between it being against the government or against them. So I don't like those ugly scenes, and I don't want asylum seekers or anyone to suffer unduly, and if a hotel is the only place they can be put up while they're awaiting processing or awaiting deportation...
I mean, that is rubbish.
But I would say...
the only place they can be put up.
Well, that's why they ended up in hotels in New York. That's why we use hotel quarantine here for our own citizens as well as other people.
Yeah, but we did it for our own citizens because, we didn't want to put them on Christmas Island or some joint because, fair enough, you're an Australian citizen. You can't tell me that a hotel is the only place in the entirety of the United Kingdom that you could put these people... Float a boat somewhere. Put them. I don't care where you put them. Don't put them in a luxury hotel.
We had to build purpose-built detention centres offshore just for that purpose.
Yeah.
And the UK simply does not have them, which is why they're being put up there. So if they're being put up there and that they're the facilities the hotel has while they're awaiting processing, I think fine. But the more important thing is that you actually do have control of your borders, so you're not incentivising people to risk their lives, and so you're giving humanitarian visas to the people who need it most.
But that's the problem, right? By having these cushy conditions, everyone else knows that if I go to the UK, I get put up in a really nice hotel with a really nice quality of life, and that is what draws people. All of these people are crossing the channel from France. France is a safe country. The UK is under no obligation to offer these people asylum if you're coming from an already safe country. So the answer is you build a British-style alligator Alcatraz and you make the living conditions so unbearable that there is no incentive for people to cross the channel. And while you do that, you fortify the channel. You actually have surveillance and Navy boats turning these boats around. This is all within the government's control, but they have failed to secure the border, and it's British people who are paying.
Well, there's a bloke called Tony Abbott. They may want to look it up in the United Kingdom. He came up with this idea of turning boats back. And you know what? It worked. It was so successful that the Labor Party adopted it as well. Maybe the Labor Party in the United Kingdom should look into that idea too.